Welcome to the Powerful One podcast. This is episode 18 with Dan Peterson. Guys, Dan is somebody I connected with on social media. He actually reached out to me and I was very fascinated with everything he had going on. He's a very incredible guy. He is a small business owner. He is trying to currently build his personal brand at Dan Peterson Official. But man, he's done everything from, tons of seminars, presentations, training sessions for small businesses and companies alike through his social media agency, Flip Switch Social Media. So guys, check out Flip Switch. If you're somebody who is in the market for a social media marketing company, hit him up or hit up his company, Flip Switch Social Media. And he provides really great value and really great insight. So he has a fascinating story. He actually was a pre-med student for 2 years, but he ended up following business and not getting a degree. He was actually in a rock band for a couple years as well. He's married. He's got 3 kids at home. He did door-to-door sales. He was the number 1 sales rep for AT&T. And now, like I said, he's trying to build his personal brand and trying to really focus on a lot of what Powerful One is about: positivity, happiness. And he's just a really fascinating guy. He's got tons of great value in here. We talk about everything from what experiences in his life helped him the most in order to really find his passion and his personal brand. We also talk about a lot of the value that he feels that he can provide people who are maybe stuck in a spot where they don't know what they want to do and to try to find themselves. He also has a lot of great value for the younger generation, something that I'm really trying to push for, and getting young kids and students to realize that there's other choices, and going off that, we talk a little bit about college and how it maybe is not the best choice for everybody. We also go ahead and talk about some of his influences. We talk about Gary Vee a little bit. We talk about entrepreneur and that entrepreneurial mindset that you have to have. We also talk about some value and some good things that he learned throughout the quarantine that have really helped him, that'll be able to transition into his everyday life. So guys, a really amazing episode. So much stuff that is of such value and really goes to the core of what it means to be Powerful One. And Dan is someone who has definitely divided himself from the pack and done his own thing and tried so many different things and really found now his passion and his drive, and he's doing stuff that he enjoys and loves. And that's what Powerful One's all about. It's about loving yourself. It's about loving what you do and being able to divide yourself from the norm and kind of go out and try different things. And so he's perfect for Powerful One. And guys, I know you're going to enjoy this episode. Here it is, episode 18 with Dan Peterson. Let's rock and roll. All right. Here with Dan Peterson. Dan is out of Illinois right now in a studio, and I wanted to have him on. I love what he's doing with his personal brand and everything he's got going on. What's up, brother? How are you?
Good, man. How's it going?
Doing good, man.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thank you for being on, man. Just living the quarantine life. You know how it is.
Right.
So
ridiculous.
Yeah, man. So, dude, I like I said, I love what you got going on, man. So I want to talk a little bit more just about, a little bit about your journey and how you've came to be where you're at now. And I guess let's start with, like you had told me before, and like I mentioned in the intro, you were a pre-med student for, you were in a rock band, you did door-to-door sales. So you've done all these different things, and now you've kind of landed in like that business kind of entrepreneurial, that speaking and social media platform. So walk me, if you don't mind, just through the transition and how you found that was something you were more passionate about and that sort of thing.
Sure. So I guess, I don't think anybody really knows, or 90% of people don't know what they're going to do when they get out of school, out of like high school or even college in a lot of cases. I'm not a big proponent of going to college right out of high school. I think that there's a lot of growing up that needs to be done, a lot of experimentation, a lot of travel and things like that, where you just need to find yourself and find what you want to do. And I didn't go that route. I went straight into college. Like you said, I was pre-med / pre-physical therapy, did the cadaver labs and all the crazy stuff. I loved it. I was really, really good at that in school. Like biology was just good for me. But for various reasons, I stopped doing that. And then I went 2 years in business. Ended up managing 2 different pizza places. I managed a lumberyard for several years as well, half of the lumberyard. So did a lot of stuff. I grew up in retail. My parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, they're all entrepreneurs. They all own businesses. And it just seemed like a natural step for me looking back at it. I didn't know at the time, but
Right.
Looking back now, it's like that probably fit me pretty well.
Yeah.
So then I, like you said, I was in a rock band. I did that for, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 years, whatever it was. I still perform. I still play out solo, and it's a blast. Just up to a couple years ago, I was playing out like 4 or 5 nights a week.
Damn it.
So I know it's crazy. So now I've slowed all that down. You know, I've got a wife, 3 kids, the whole
Yeah.
thing. And this is so much fun for me though. Like I'm having so much fun running this company. I've ran Flip Switch Social Media is the company. I've ran it for 8 years. As of April of 2020, it's our 8-year anniversary. So we've, you know, done a lot of good for a lot of small businesses. We've really helped a lot of people grow. And now I'm working on building my personal brand,
Yeah.
which I wish I'd have started years ago. But we're doing that. So it's Dan Peterson official, and that's where I'm at.
Dude, I love it, man. So yeah, like I mean, obviously, like you just said, and like I said in the intro, like you've done so many different things. So what's the big difference, and what made you want to start your personal brand versus, you know, you've obviously lived. It sounds like you've really enjoyed a lot of your path and your journey. But you know, what's the big step as far as your personal brand? What are you really looking forward to, and what was kind of that thing that made you really want to jump in and do it?
You know, like I said, I should have started it years ago. Um, I think it's more of just I see an opportunity to take a lot of the sales knowledge I have, a lot of the stuff that, you know, like you said, I've done door-to-door sales. I did it for several years. I used to have a couple door-to-door offices, and I had a blast. That was probably the most fun I've ever had at any job. Like it's just awesome. People are like, you did door-to-door sales? It's like, yeah, that's still a thing now.
Yeah, right.
So I know people are like, people still do that. But it was a lot of fun, and I had a blast, and I learned a lot from that. And so I think it's just time to start opening up new chapters. And I do I do a lot of consulting and stuff anyway. So why not parlay that into a personal brand that I can actually eventually get more speaking engagements and things like that. So that's kind of what I was thinking, and we'll see if it works out. But
Yeah, man. Cause like and like I said in the intro, like you've done a lot of different things. Like you've done a lot of seminars, speaking, and kind of training for small businesses. So is that part of? Because I know we're both big fans of Gary Vee, and I know that's where you draw a lot of inspiration. So is that something you're really looking forward to getting
mhm.
involved in? Is some of that like public speaking and seminars and stuff like that?
Yeah, I think so. You know, being a musician and being on stage is natural to me.
Yeah,
So it's natural to get up and speak. And I do a lot of seminars and a lot of lunch and learns and
yeah,
a lot of trainings and and, you know, stuff in front of 50 to 100 people monthly or every other month for my company. So to take it to a different level and just be able to motivate people, inspire people, just kind of play off of that, like you said, kind of the Gary Vee thing, but making it my own and, you know, turning it into the Dan Peterson brand. I don't expect to ever take it to that level. If I did, that'd be awesome. But I'm realistic, and I just think that I have a lot of knowledge and a lot of early, you know, 41-year-old wisdom that I can
yeah.
impart on some 20-year-olds that just I didn't. You know, I had a great upbringing. I had a great everything. But looking back at it, it's like, man, how does anybody know what they're going to do right out of school? And like, there's so many things that people need to do and try to do and learn about themselves before they decide what they want to do for a living. And they just need to follow their passion and be happy. You know, that's the big thing. So
Dude,
that's
exactly.
kind of
I
where I'm
think
at.
that, yeah, man. I think that's so huge. Is like just at least for people, you know, at the young age. Because I was, dude, I'm in the same boat as you, man. Like I never knew what I wanted to do, and you know, I knew what I didn't enjoy to a point, but I didn't really know what I did enjoy. I knew I didn't like school, and so I think that's really cool. Is just getting people to realize that there's other options, right? It seems like people assume that college has to be this inevitable thing, and so I'm really curious, and I really like that that's the path you're going, because I definitely relate and have a similar vision for just wanting to educate people on just following their passion, and really, like, you know, my logo, the dividing themselves from the pack and finding what they enjoy. So talk to me a little bit more, if you don't mind, just about you know, the ways in which you're kind of trying to go about doing that, and what really you feel like you can provide to people who kind of need that advice at a young age.
Sure. So you know, I kind of got a late start at this personal branding thing. Um, I, I literally started it 2 months before this recording of us talking right now. So I just got into it, and I'm having a blast with it, but it's growing fairly quickly, and I'm not trying to rush it and do it the wrong way. I'm really trying to genuinely provide value and build it with an organic base of followers and people that genuinely care about it.
Yeah.
I don't care about the follower count and all of that. You know, I've got, I think 200 and couple, whatever, 203 or something like that today as we record this, but I gain a few every day, and they are the right type of followers, the people that actually care about what I'm putting out. And over time, that's going to build into something.
Yeah.
But as many people have been talking about, if followers go away anyway, if Instagram actually gets rid of that, which sounds like they might do in the near future, that, hey, you know, like then it's all ground zero, everybody's back to square one, and it really is all about content at that point. So I'm not waiting for that to happen. I'm starting that now. I'm just coming out of the gate like, here's the value I bring, here's what I can teach, here's what I know. Take it or leave it. This is me, this is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So
yeah, man, I
that's kind
think,
of where I'm at with
that's what's really cool is, and I think that's where you really see like longevity and consistency and stuff, is when you're doing it for the right reasons. Like you said, you're not worried about the monetary stuff yet. You're not worried about the followers yet. You're doing it because you enjoy doing it. And I think that's a recipe for success in anything, is having that consistency and really just building that brand.
it is. And that's kind of the point of what I'm trying to do too, is teach people or tell people that, you know, going back to what I said, you don't really know what you're going to do. Most people don't.
Right.
When they're young, and you shouldn't. Like, go out and experience things and taste things and figure it out, and know how to read yourself and understand what you like, what you don't. Like, a big thing that you just said was you knew what you weren't good at. Like,
Right.
that's huge. That is really, really huge, to have that introspection and be able to say, you know what, I really hate math. And I'm with you on that. Like, I'm not good at math.
Right.
Like,
Right.
I think you said you're just not good at school or whatever, didn't like school.
Math especially, but
Yeah. Like, I did okay in math, but it was ultimately math that kept me from progressing and becoming a doctor.
yeah.
Like, it was calculus. I took it 3 times in college. Nobody could, excuse me, nobody could teach me. 3 different professors, 3 different times. I ended up dropping the class all 3 times.
Yeah.
I couldn't figure it out. And it just didn't resonate with me. It didn't make any sense. It was completely out in left field. And I was just like, you know what? I'm done. I don't have the heart for this anymore. And it really sucks, because I could have been probably a good doctor. You know what I mean? Like, I really loved that. I still nerd out all the time about medical stuff. Just ask my family. They're always like, shut up, Dad. You know, like, I'm like, you're not a doctor. You're really not. But I love that. And I could have probably done well in that, but, you know, it wasn't meant to be, and it is what it is. And now here I am all these years later, 20 years later or whatever, doing something I never dreamed I would do.
Yeah.
But it's just cool to see how that progressed. And someday maybe I'll write a memoir, but if I ever get to that level of anybody caring, you know.
Dude, no, that would be cool, man, because I do think you have, like you said, you've done so many different things to find what you enjoy. And so I guess going off that, I mean, which experiences and which kind of trying things and figuring out what you like best, what kind of experience doing that helped you find kind of your passion and where you're at now the most, would you say?
I think the door-to-door sales played a big part in a transition period for me,
Gotcha.
because I moved from Champaign, Illinois up to Chicago, Illinois. When the band was still together, we were trying to make it up in Chicago, but things didn't work out. The band didn't all move to Chicago, and people were living all over the place, and it ended up not working out. At the same time, I got married, and I had to go get a job, right? Like, I had to figure out what I was going to do. And I think it was a newspaper ad or Craigslist or something. I don't know. However, the door-to-door company was putting out their job app stuff. And I ended up doing that and falling in love with it. And I was excellent. Like, out of 10,000 sales reps at one point, I think I was like number 1 or top 3 or something like that, for like 2 or 3 months running. And that was for AT&T back in the day. Like, we were doing door-to-door sales for them. And like, I just was really good at it, and I really enjoyed it. And so I was training, I ended up training a couple thousand salespeople over the years. Just loved it. Like, everything about it. I hated getting out of that business. I got out because the market dried up, and it ended up being a pain in the butt. But other than that, I'd still be doing it. And so to this day now, like, I took that sales training, and then somehow that morphed into a consulting gig back in the day. And that led to me seeing an opportunity for businesses, small businesses like I grew up in, to need help with digital marketing. And here we are today. And that's why I own flip switch now, but I see an opportunity to split and now start doing other consulting, other speaking and things like that. So
Yeah. Yeah. I'm definitely, I want to give you tons of time to talk about your personal brand, but go ahead if you don't mind. Just talk a little bit about Flip Switch and how you got into that real quick, and then we can kind of transition back. Just kind of talk about where you guys are at now, and if there's anybody who's looking for that type of service that you guys provide.
I appreciate that. So yeah, so Flip Switch is 8 years old, and I'll probably say this on every podcast I'm on, that it's like dog years, right? So 8 years of social media is a long time because it's only been out for whatever, 12, 14, 15 years, something like that.
Right.
So we've been doing this for quite a while, and we've seen 90% of the transitions and the updates and all of that. So we have a really good knowledge of that, the algorithms, the whole thing. So our goal, because of my upbringing and because of my family's small business background, I just saw a big need for social media, for digital marketing stuff, for small businesses, but affordable. That's the key, Tommy, is the whole thing's got to be affordable. These companies don't have thousands of dollars a month to spend on agencies.
Right.
So we do it for a few $100 a month and provide, if you compare lists of services, it's crazy. Like we're doing 10 times the amount of work and just the general scope of work, 10 times what these other companies are doing at a third to a fifth of the cost.
Right.
All day long. And it just works. And it's such a good benefit for the business, but it's so rewarding to be able to help these businesses and not, that they're not waking up the first of every month being like, oh, we have to pay Flip Switch.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, this is great. Like we have a company that's doing everything for us, all the posting, all the monitoring, all the ads, digital graphic design, video editing, like the whole thing for, let's say, $300-400 a month.
Yeah.
So it's a really cool process, and it's worked. And that's where we're at. We're just helping, we have clients in like 15 states and growing. So
Wow, dude, good for you, and congrats on the
cool.
8-year
Thanks,
anniversary.
man. Yeah, thanks. I always forget when April comes around. It's like, I think it was literally like April 29th or something,
Wow.
this year.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait a minute. Like I forgot April. I forgot it was our anniversary. So like the last day of April, I posted something about it, but whatever, it's just a calendar date. It doesn't really matter.
And I'll go ahead and link Flip Switch in your personal account below. But yeah, man, from your personal brand to Flip Switch, you have tons of awesome content. So what really, I guess, and going off of what I said earlier about the Gary Vee things, just as far as a content standpoint, what a lot of your motivation comes from when it comes to creating content? Like, where do you draw a lot of your inspiration, and how did you kind of get that creative touch with that?
So here's what's cool. And I just realized this. I had a moment of self-realization like 3 days ago. And I told my wife, I said, all this content I'm putting out on the Dan Peterson official page, like Instagram, it's for me. It's really me talking to myself. So when you read these posts, and I didn't really realize this, like I said, I had a moment of clarity one day, just a few days ago, and it's like, those posts are meant for me. And I started reading back through the posts that I've done for the last couple of months. I was like, yep. Like that's totally stuff that, like, that day I was like, I needed my own pick me up, or I needed my own, source of motivation.
Yeah.
And so the posts that I'm putting out that day were the deep thoughts inside my head, and kind of emotionally speaking, saying like, whatever that is for that day, that's what I'm feeling. So hopefully somebody else can resonate with that and benefit from it.
Absolutely, man.
That's the weird thing. Like,
yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, like, that's the weird thing. Like, a lot of people create content based on what they think their audience wants. And I guess I thought I was doing that, but everything that I posted was for myself. So it's very introspective and very, hopefully motivational for others. But I don't care. Like, I'm really doing it for my own benefit at this point, and vicariously through myself helping others, which if that even makes sense. But
no, that makes sense, man. And that's cool. Like, I think that's, again, coming back to like the longevity and consistency. I think that's a better thing for that, is doing it because you want to do it and doing the content that you want to do, and rather than appealing to people, because then you kind of lose touch of why you started and lose touch of yourself. So I do think that's a very valuable component of what you're doing.
100%.
Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah. So what's some of the next big steps that you're looking forward to as far as your personal brand? Anything kind of in the works, especially with quarantine, as obviously a lot more time probably on your hands, maybe.
Yeah, lots of time. Well, let me rephrase that. A lot of mental time. Like I have a lot of time to reflect on things. Work wise, I'm busier than I've ever been, but I'm having more fun than I've ever had too. And it's a lot of fun to, I have an office. I rarely go. I work from home mostly anyway, because it's a digital world. Like, why waste my time going to an office where I'm going to sit there when I can sit at the same type of office in my house? Doesn't make any sense.
Right.
But anyway, I have had a lot of fun working from home during this quarantine with being able to just go outside and play basketball with my kids if they're home, they're not at school, or doing whatever comes that day, trying to divide up that family time with the work time and all of that. But to answer your question, the next steps for me right now as a personal brand are to, I'm doing a lot of these podcasts. I'm doing a lot of shows. I am going to have my own podcast in the near future. Awesome. So I'm kind of training myself now for that. I'm seeing what everybody's doing, people like yourself that have these shows, and just getting a feel for it, and doing a lot of those. So I have, at the time that you and I are recording this, you're the first of 3 that I'm doing today.
That's awesome.
So like I'm cranked, man. Like I'm pushing. I'm having a blast doing it. But that's the next step after that is then to again parlay that into consulting and speaking and things. But that's probably a ways down the line, at least at scale. I can still do like smaller events like I've been doing, but I also don't want to lose sight of my main revenue source, which at this point is obviously Flip Switch. So I'm balancing the two, but they go hand in hand, they dovetail nicely. You know what I mean? Like it's all content, it's all fun. And while I'm creating content for one, I can kind of create content for the other. And when I can't do it, my team can do it. And it's just easy to, we're just rolling right now. So
yeah, man. No, that's awesome. I completely lost what I was going to say.
Well, you're thinking of that. I'll say one more thing. So
absolutely.
I think that it's important too that, going back to my passions and my quote unquote expertise in certain areas, I always want to make sure that I'm realistic with myself, because I think that's important too. I think a lot of people, especially entrepreneurs, have high hopes and dreams, and they think that they're going to come out of the gate and post 5 times and get a gig and make $10,000 for speaking. Like none of that happens, right? Like it's a process. You have to grind and grind and grind and hustle. And that's what I'm doing. Absolutely. And I don't expect to do it in my 40s. Like I'm 41. I just turned 41 a month ago, and 2 months ago, I guess. But at age 50, maybe I'll be there. Maybe I'll be somewhere where, and if it comes any sooner than that, great. You know what I mean? That's just a bonus to me. But having the patience, having the self-awareness and the realization to know that I have to grind it out, and it's going to take years of hard work to make it happen. Unless, you get a little luck here and there, and you never know. Right. So, but anyway.
No, absolutely. And I think that's something that a lot of people who kind of have that entrepreneurial mindset kind of fall through the weeds there, is because they're not willing to grind that initial work when you're getting like no views, nobody's liking your content. It can sometimes be hard to keep that motivation. So I think you're absolutely right. And I think that's a very important part that a lot of people just, aren't grasping. But, kind of going off of that, what's one thing that's really helped you, the quarantine has really helped you be able to, I guess, maybe evolve or get better with? Like, what's one thing you really learned from quarantine that'll be able to help you kind of moving back into regular routine?
Well, 2 things. I think that it's going to streamline a lot of processes for a lot of people and companies, which is cool. There's always those jokes going around like, why did we have that meeting when that could have been one email? You know what I mean? Like, why are people getting together in a room to talk when you could send out a mass email and everybody gets it? It's like, okay, that's done. That's checked off the list. Now on to the next thing. Right. So I like that streamlined process, because I hate wasting time when it comes to like business stuff. You know what I mean? It just drives me crazy. I've been parts of companies. I've done it, right? Like I've been the one running those meetings before, and I hate it. And it's looking back at it, it's like, what was I doing? Yeah. But so that process is part of it. And then the other side of it, I think from more of a personal level, is just getting to spend time with the family and getting to do things. Not that I didn't before. I've always kind of argued with myself that maybe I spent too much time with them in certain regards. And now they don't understand why Dad works from home. It's like, they see me at the house and they think I'm just there, they don't realize like Dad's working. Right. So, but changing that mindset and letting them, showing them, if anything, like really showing them like, hey, here's how you can work from home. Here's what the modern day workplace can look like, and maybe imparting some of that knowledge on them so that they grow up seeing hey, it's a digital world. Here's how you can work. Here's ways you can make money without having to go to the 9 to 5 daily grind somewhere. There's also the joke too, right? Like entrepreneurs are the only people that are crazy enough to work 80 hours a week so they don't have to work 40 hours a week.
Right.
So at the same time, like I have to make sure that they see that I'm having fun and I'm not killing myself for the sake of the almighty dollar.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah, man. So going off that, I mean, what's some value that as your kids start to grow up? How old are your kids, by the way?
they are 10, 8, and 18, 20 months, something like that. So
Awesome.
one,
Cool, man.
but 10, 8, and 1.
Yeah. So what's some value that you'll try to pass on to them to maybe help them find their passion a little bit earlier than you did, or at least, help them realize that to pursue something that they really enjoy rather than pursuing something for maybe, money or some other kind of tangible reason other than passion. And then also, obviously for other people, not just your kids, but in general, what's something that you kind of are looking forward to helping people, and then also your kids kind of expedite that process, so to speak.
Yeah, really good, interesting questions there. Very timely too, because this is actually going on in my house right now.
Gosh.
So I am working with, especially my oldest daughter, because she's the one that's more into like the digital stuff. She wants to create a YouTube channel, which we did.
Nice.
Uh, she's wanting to start putting out content, which we're trying to start doing. And she, like, she's a prime example of what I'm trying to accomplish. I'm trying to teach my kids, and going back to the content, here's another thing. Putting out this content and doing what I'm doing is really what's the word I'm looking for? It's a record. It's a log of my life in certain regards and my thought process and my world. And they're going to be able to look back on that someday too and see it, as will I. But if I'm dead and gone, they can look back and be like, hey, here's like all this content for years that my dad put out or whatever,
Right.
So that's kind of cool. But anyway, I digress. So going back to what you were saying, my kids can look at the content and they can also create their own content. I'm just trying to show them and use this time, especially during the quarantine, to get creative and find cool ways that we can do that kind of stuff together and just show them that side of the world. And my wife and I go back and forth about it. Parts of me especially, but especially with her, very old fashioned with, reading books and riding bikes and doing crafts and doing things that are like from my childhood in the 80s. And then the other half of me is like, you know what, like they are going to do that and they do that, but they need also to be able to get into the digital world because that is their world.
Yeah.
And she and I go back and forth a little bit about it because it's like, well, they've been on the tablet for an hour today or 2 hours today or whatever. It's like, yeah, but that is going to be their source of revenue someday. You know what I mean? Like they're going to school from home right now. The school gives them laptops. They take the laptops home. They work on the laptop. Like everything's digital, right? So like, I'm working to get my kids into that digital mindset,
Right.
but at the same time have a balance and make sure that they're doing kid stuff, right? Just because I didn't grow up with it doesn't mean that they can't, but I don't want them just also being a couch potato. So
Yeah, I think that's something that's super cool that you can add value for is, a lot of, I guess maybe parents who didn't grow up in like the age of technology and stuff, it can't relate to how their reality is going to be with just technology. Cause the reality is like they're using laptops in kindergarten. So I think it's cool that you can pass that along because you have such an extensive knowledge of, social media, online stuff. So I think that's a really cool aspect that I'm sure will help them a lot personally,
I hope so. That is the goal, and we'll see. Right, looking back at this, in a year, we'll check back to this interview here, and
Right.
we'll know.
Yeah, no, man, it's one of those things like, and I teach a lot of kids classes at our martial arts academy, but it's one of those things like I always say this, and I believe it's true, but I always say you have more in common with like your 5 and 10-year-old self than you do with like your 15 to 18-year-old self. Because the truth is, a lot of times the stuff that you really want to do as a child, a lot of that gets kind of lost in the weeds because people are telling you what you're supposed to be doing. And so I think it's one of those things that I would, that hopefully a lot of people will move more toward is really like, for example, like I actually don't tell a lot of people this, but when I was a kid, I always wanted to be a wrestler, and quarantine stopped my wrestling training, but I'm in the process of becoming a professional wrestler, and it's something that got lost for a while for me. And so I think it's important to be able to teach the youth that whatever those dreams are when you're little, that they are possible, and you shouldn't lose them as you get older just because somebody says that you're not going to do that.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the big thing with my 10-year-old right now. She stopped creating content because she didn't think that it was good.
Mm,
And she also didn't think that anybody liked it because she had 9 followers on YouTube. It's
right.
like, well, you've only put out 4 videos and you've done 3 hours worth of work total over this
Right.
4 videos.
Right.
You're expecting, it goes back to what we were just talking about. You're expecting to make it. And in her little world, I don't know what make it means, but she's very upset that she's like, it's not good. Like, I don't like them. Okay, then change it. But don't give up just because you don't like it. But we had a big meeting last night in the bedroom right at bedtime. And I was telling her, like, you have to love doing this. Like, why are you doing this YouTube channel? Why are you making these videos?
That's
Like, do
awesome.
you actually love it, or are you just doing it because you think that that's what cool kids do? And like,
Right.
if you
Right.
don't love it and you don't actually care about it, then don't even do it. You know what I mean? Like, you're not too young to understand that concept.
Yeah,
So
that's super awesome, man. I wish more people would kind of pass that knowledge along. I think it's awesome and very important. Just
yeah,
helping them understand
thanks.
the new stuff. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, man, let's wrap up with one thing I really like getting people's advice on, because people have so many different things they like to provide value on. But kind of
Mhm.
close the podcast with talking about one thing, and maybe we mentioned it already or maybe we didn't, but one thing that you've really learned. I mean, like I said, you've done so many different things. So what's one thing that you've learned, um, whether it's just through life or experiences, that if you could just leave one thing with the people listening, what would that kind of one core value or thing that you've learned be?
I think collectively over, 20 years of doing 20 different jobs,
Mm.
it's just hard work and grinding, and I've been guilty of this myself, taking my foot off the gas several times, and not too long ago. Um, I I was in a car accident like 3.5 years ago, and my back and neck are messed up from it and stuff. And it caused me to take my foot off the gas because I was in pain every day and I was dealing with this. I still am. Like, it hurts right now, you know what I mean?
Right.
But I finally had to be like, you know what? Like, I just got to live with this, and that's not going to stop me from doing what I want to do
Absolutely.
and reaching the goals I want to reach. So regardless of what comes your way, like whether it is a car accident or it's your own brain getting in your way, you have to just grind. You have to keep working hard and not take your foot off that pedal, because as soon as you do, somebody else floors the gas and they pass you up. So
Absolutely.
I demand to be in first place when I end this race. So that's where I'm going. And first place doesn't mean that I win in the regards of what, money and houses and all that stuff. I'm not talking about that. Like, I just want to be able to pass on a legacy of success, and at the same time, document my journey through this process and ultimately be happy doing it.
Dude, I
And
love it, man. I
that's
love
where I'm
it.
at. So.
Yeah, that's great advice. I really do love everything you're doing, man. Where can people find you online, on the internet, social media, and that sort of stuff?
So the personal brand is newish. Like I said, only a couple months into this process, but it's Dan Peterson Official on both Instagram and Facebook. And then it's you can just find me, Dan Peterson, on LinkedIn as well.
Nice.
And you'll look. The pink logo is my personal brand, so it's like kind of a headshot with pink in it. Not a lot of guys use pink, so I did it. Plus, it's kind of a nod to my daughters. All 3 of my kids are girls. Even the dog is a girl. So
Nice.
I'm outnumbered significantly. But anyway, yeah, the pink logo is how you'll know you got the right Dan Peterson
Yeah.
account.
Dude, I love it. Pink's the best color, man. So that's good.
I
Um,
love it.
Dude, I'm excited for you, man. I love what you're doing, just both for personally, with your business, everything like that. So
Thanks,
yeah,
brother.
bro, dude, I'm excited for you to get the podcast rolling too. That'll be a great next step as well.
Me too. You'll be one of my first guests for sure.
Sweet. Well, dude, thank you again, man. We'll get this episode up soon, but yeah, everybody check out Dan. He's doing awesome things, man. I appreciate you making time to do this, bro.
Thank you, man. Thanks for having me. A lot of fun.
You did it. You made it to the end of the episode. Thank you guys so much for listening or watching the podcast. Be sure to go like it, subscribe, share, all that stuff that you're supposed to say at the end of the podcast. Thank you guys again, and stay tuned every Thursday, powerful1.com/podcast, or on the Instagram page at powerful 0, NE, powerful 1. Thank you guys again. And again, last thing, if you guys are interested in being on the podcast, hit me up. If you got a cool story and feel like you really fit, the mold for powerful 1, hit me up. We'll get you on the podcast. Thank you guys. Stay safe.